blue and white. These are the colors you remember when someone says ZIL 130. And even latently you remember that this is the most massive car in the USSR. Legend. And we were lucky again, we found an early 130th. Huge luck. If you just search the internet for the history of the creation of the ZIL 130, you may get the impression that everything is quite simple, but the history of the truck began a little earlier than it seems. The Likachev plant was tasked with creating a good reliable truck to replace the obsolete ZIS 150 and its upgraded version ZIL 164. Work began in 1953, and by 1962 pilot batches were ready. And on October 1st, 1964, mass production began. Truck appearance. You can't confuse it with anyone. This is the creation of a young graduate of the Stroganov University, Eric Vladimirovich Sabo. Neither before nor after such a bright appearance of the car in our country was not. And, in fact, what are the visual differences of the early one? The main one is another lining of the front end. The turn signals are at the bottom of the headlights, and not at the top, as we are used to. There are no repeaters on the wings, popularly called warts. Well, okay. Do you know what I would really like to see here? Line engine. It would be cool from a collectible point of view, but this does not in the least detract from the rarity of this car, 1978 edition. For years younger than me. The fact is that on some of the first 130s there were engines from the 164th, and only then they began to install only a V8 with a capacity of 150 horsepower, with a compression ratio of only 6.5 units, but powered by 76th gasoline. It has a displacement of 364 cubic inches and a maximum torque of 402 newtons at 2000 RPM. The highlight is the compressor. Without it, the engine compartment of the 130th does not appear at all. I will destroy the myth. The engine of the 130th and the government ZIL are not the same thing. Similar, yes, but the unification of components tends to zero. If we talk about the design of the machine, then there are no revelations. The supporting frame on which everything else is hung. The frame consists of steel spars with 5 crossmembers. Front and rear axles, dependent suspension. They are located on longitudinal leaf-type springs. The ends of the springs are fixed with removable ears and fingers. The rear parts of the springs are sliding. Shock absorbers are installed only in front. On the port side is a 45-gallon tank and battery. Pay attention to the visor and the bend of the window frame. Beauty. The cabin is welded from stamped elements and is quite rigidly fixed to the frame. No, there are rubber spacers, but they do not save from vibration. And again, we are in the early cockpit of the ZIL. The dashboard is quite tiny. There are 2 hatches in the roof, and everything is as it should be. For you to understand, outside ZIL, of course, painted, but inside, it is as it was. Please note that the fully cardboard corrugated upholstery of the cabin has been preserved. For even younger cars, this is rare. The glove box is roomy and clean. My favorite ashtray, with ancient antique cigarette butts inside, and matches. What is from the devices? Nothing really. Pressure, oil, water temperature, fuel, water, speedometer, heating, wiper levers, manual gas, choke, light. Far light under the foot. What do we have under the seat? Under the seat we have a box, in which this very necessary thing lies. We'll throw it out on the street now. Then you will understand why. Since this is a gas station, here is the power takeoff handle that drives the pump. Oh, there's still a heating pad in here. Here it hangs, a real whole heating pad. A water heater that splashes on glass. Imagine. Beauty, everything is breathing. And no guitar. The cabin for its time is the height of comfort, a stove, pneumatic wipers, and with a washer, latex foam seats, not springs with felt. 3 people fit, in principle, very easily. The driver's seat, moreover, is regulated. Did you close the faucet?
Certainly. I turned off 3 faucets.
Where are they? I know one.
Here is the first one. Here is the second one on the block. And here it is from the radiator. On the latest models, they began to be located under the bumper.
Yeah. Here's what else was there.
From the factory.
Rare.
Запуск мотора.
It is not to be confused with anything, and how it howls when the car goes uphill under load, an indescribable sound. So, now let's pump up the brake system, warm up the engine, and go. So, as long as it warms up, this is a tanker, as you already understood. Accordingly, the exhaust system is at the front. Here, under the casing, we have an input-output for filling or draining fuel. There are still hoses in the sleeves. Now I'll show you. Well, in general, they froze, but they are there, look. At the back we have an air system for the brakes and a chip for marker lights. Fuel trucks often traveled in pairs, well, respectively, with a trailer with exactly the same barrel. On the right side, well, of course, a spare tire and a box of interesting things. There is a wrench for unscrewing, adapters and hoses, too. Accordingly, the adapters themselves, completely new. And a very important thing, grounding, I will not pull it out. When draining and filling the barrel, grounding is necessarily stuck into the ground with a cable. Another interesting thing, note that there are 2 numbers on the top of the neck of the barrel. Do you want to know what they mean? I'll tell you anyway. 3409 is the tank number and 4215 is the calibration. Well, in simple Russian, this is the amount of fuel that is poured directly into the tank.
5 тонн ZIL перевозили.
5 tons ZIL transported lightly. And this is more than its own weight, more than 4 tons if that. ZIL occupied an intermediate position between the GAZ-52 and MAZ-500, but to be fair, it took their jobs very often. Early 70s, ZIL, a dream. The hydraulic booster even today allows you to quite successfully maneuver in city traffic. But I'm not going to the city. So, just in case, the brakes are air. Since ZIL is early, single circuit, so if anything, that's it. Logically. Air tank, receiver, one installed. There is, however, a transmission handbrake, but this is only if you stand. It will not stop a loaded car, although a good driver will even calmly throw off the speed with a box. Moreover, on a ZIL 5-speed box, all speeds are synchronized. And look at these windows, what an exclusive. Panoramic windshield without lintel and with trailing ends. Unseen for the USSR. But to sit with a straight back, I cannot say that it is very comfortable. All the time you want to lie on the steering wheel. And this way it is much more convenient. It's gotten a little hot in here. Do you hear it spinning? Centrifuge. So, okay, we need to lighten the face a little. Yeah, the button falls off, so be it. And I'll open the blinds. The top speed of the 130 is 55 miles downhill with a tailwind, consumption under 13 gallons. But then who counted? The turning radius is almost 30 feet. With a clearance of 10 inches and a sufficiently powerful engine, throttle response, ZIL does not like mud and ice. No, your ZIL, of course, and you yourself will drive everywhere. But there is not even a differential lock here. Do you know what that means? Therefore, if one wheel slips, that's it. It's over. But the simplicity of design, reliability, unpretentiousness, maintainability, this is the key to the success of the ZIL 130. And how many modifications were produced on its basis, exported to dozens of countries around the world, produced in Moscow, Chita, Novorossiysk. The chassis of the 130th formed the basis of the Kutaisi Miracle and the Tajik bus. Here are the side mirrors that are installed here. It seems to me that they are non-native. They are similar to the factory ones, but smaller in my opinion. I don't remember whether I said it or not. A striking difference between the early ZILs is 2 hatches on the roof. Then there was 1 hatch, and then the hatches disappeared altogether. Window vents. Beauty.
Но самая моя любимая...
But my favorite place in ZIL as a child, of course, was near the Handle of Fear. Well, that's what they call it now. Before, I never gave it a name. When I was little, I sat opposite my father, held onto this thing with my hands, and pretended to be the driver of this car. We traveled in a dump truck. That's it.
Чтобы вы понимали,
For you to understand, the estimated mileage before the overhaul of the ZIL 130 was 185,000 miles, which was a super indicator for the 60s. The machine is constantly refined and improved. But due to objective reasons, it became obsolete too quickly. In 2010, ZIL 130 was taken out of production.
Я умышленно не стал рассказывать про заграничные грузовики, которыми вдохновлялись создатели 130-го. Не вижу смысла в очередной
I
раз
see no
доказывать
reason to repeat the
очевидное.
obvious.
Хорошее
There is a good Russian proverb: the smart one won't tell, the fool won't understand.
Продолжается.
The hunt continues.
Забыл выключить.
Oops, I forgot to turn it off.